fire, brought up by a liar, got burned by the fire. Now I got blood on my hands, on my hands. And I'm way past the point of rejection. It takes every day, try as I may to forget you, and to let you go. I've seen the truth and it's killing me. I've seen the truth and there's nothing left to say. But it's gonna take worlds of pain to get over you. And it's gonna take worlds of pain to get over you.
I am thinking it's all in my head. 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 This ain't about you. It's all in your head. You hear him talking
To get over you. I'm so delightfully wasted. I keep losing faith in my reason to breathe, thinking maybe I should drink you to death. My lust is my affliction. Can someone tell me why I surrender time for the quickest fix? Why am I wide awake when I lay my head to rest? Whoa, yeah. And I've seen the truth and it's killing me. And I've seen the truth and there's nothing left to say. Except it's gonna take worlds of pain to get over you. And it's gonna take worlds of pain to get over you.
him talking. Think they want you dead. It's all in your head. 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 It's all in your head.
Greetings, brave travelers, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. What you just saw was an edited version of the full fight of Hydross the Unstable in Serpent Shrine Cavern. In this portion of the video, we're going to talk about what I was thinking, what I was looking at, where we were going with things, and some of the problems that we ran into along progression in Hydross. Now that this video is coming out, we just re-cleared this boss. So I got a second attempt at it. I upped my parse a little bit from what you'll see in the video. It is now a 96 instead of a 94. So I did do a little bit better in the second attempt. What you see here is the first attempt of Hydross the Unstable. I made this recording immediately during our progression while I was streaming on Twitch. I removed all of the video elements for the video, and now this is what we had. I wanted to start with a gear check and a parse check. So on this fight, I got a 94. This is the gear that I am currently wearing. We have the Cyclone face guard for our helmet, the brooch of heightened potential from Shadow Labs, the Cyclone shoulder guards from Godoflulz, the cloak of the Ogre Magi from Godoflulz, Nether Strike breastplate crafted myself, bracers as well, Nathrazine mind blade, Maz Thoril honor shield, the crappy totem of the storm, not the Mechanar one, which we want still, the lightning capacitor, icon of the silver crescent, violet signet of the archmage, ring of unrelenting storms, storm song kilt, nether strike belt made myself, and the soul eater's hand wraps from Megtheridon. Going into the fight, my first thing, get water shield, get into position, make sure I'm 8 yards away from other players, dropping my totems, getting set up to hit the boss. I went for drums here and popped my cooldowns, you'll see, and chain lightning. I instantly got aggro and bubbled at the same time, so I started target swapping a little bit. So it got a little bit messy at the beginning of the video. Sorry about that. But we're back on Hydross. We're doing our thing with our cooldowns locked and loaded. We're not getting very many lucky crits, and we did just get a full resist. It happens. It happens to everybody, and it's unfortunate, especially during cooldowns. So what I'm thinking about here is just looking at the threat meter. I'm nowhere near the top on this. I did start a little bit later, and that bubble saved me a lot of aggro. So that's something to, I guess, be thankful for. I'm not exactly happy about it. They called for DPS stop here, and it was a little early. Definitely should not have stopped there. We still had 8 seconds left of hitting the boss. And if you took it down to the wire, I would say buffer with 2 seconds. So go down to the 2 second on the DBM alarm, or DBM timer rather. So in Poison Phase, the reason I made the video sad is because in Poison Phase, all we do is drop fire. So I used my Fire Elemental Totem and Flame Shock. And yes, I could have been meleeing, but every time I've meleeed, I just miss. So you'll see it in the next Poison Phase. I do a little bit of melee, but I miss like every hit, and it's like 100 damage if I do hit. So I just sat back using shocks and letting my elemental carry me here. It's crucial if you want a high parse to use your fire elemental at this point. Some guilds may knock you for it, I guess. It does run the risk of pulling threat on the boss when they switch, but generally a single hit from the other tank will instantly rip aggro, and it shouldn't be a problem. It's not like the elemental runs away from the boss. Worst case scenario, your elemental dies. Mark of Corruption, so they're swapping over, and we're in our favorite phase. I brought back the hype music for this in the edited version so that you could understand that I was excited to actually do some damage. We pop our drums, we pop our cooldowns, and we go back in. We start with the chain lightning to get some damage on the ads. We gave a little bit of buffer for threat, obviously, because our tank's sitting up at 20,000 right now. And then we just start going in. This is the time that we get to have a good time in this fight. I have changed a couple pieces of gear. Since then, I am now swapping the lightning capacitor for the trinket from Corrin Direbrew. I got a lot of really good parses this last raid week. So this Wednesday and Thursday. So I got a couple of really good parses using it. I think it might be the play. So if you don't have that, I would suggest you get that done quickly before the Brewfest event ends so that you have the icon and the trinket from Core and Dire Brew. All right, so we're DPSing, we're cleaving ads. We want to clean up the ads. So I was tab targeting there and they died right as I was switching to them. We went back over to the poison phase. I made this sad again because now all that I have left, because my fire totem is no more, is to drop chaining fire totems. So I used my fire nova totem there, drop magma, hitting flame shocks. I did go up and swing at the boss for a second there, and it was not effective. So I'm just mad about it and standing off in a corner. There's no reason to not be close to people on this side of the boss because the bubble doesn't exist. So here we are chilling, waiting, kind of poking things. Biggest thing to note, we lusted at the start because we had 2 elemental shamans, so you lose 2 full DPS if you lust on the green side. However, you run the risk of being bubbled in melee and then losing like 6 DPS for the entire duration of the bubbles. Something to think about in this fight, 8 yards is a must. Look at my casters here. I was telling them the whole time to like spread out and they're refusing to do it. So a lot of times we get stacked bubbles. So when you're within 8 yards of another player, you'll get a bubble. So I noticed that my healer was standing here. I should move in a little bit because he was too close to me and I don't want to get bubbled. I'm trying to do some damage. But we're in the finish line. We're killing Hydross right now. We're home free on this pull. We had a couple of other scuffed pulls along the way. But for now, we're just going to go over our log comparison. So these are the logs. Hydross the Unstable. This was our pull that night. It says that I got a 96 here, but I didn't. The original posting of the log gave me a 96 parse immediately, and then it dropped down to a 94 after more logs came in, because this is a pretty early on kill. So I got deranked a smidge when everybody's started uploading. But you'll notice how important Fire Elemental Totem is on this fight for your damage, because you do nothing in the second phase. So analyzing logs, Lightning Bolt was obviously top. Lightning or Chain Lightning directly for me was second to that, with the exception of the Fire Elemental Totem. Some Flame Shocks, Fire Nova Totem, Lightning Bolts. There's double procs, so that's your Lightning Overload and your Trinket from Illhoof, as well as the second Chain Lightning, which is your Lightning Overload on Chain Lightning. So you'll notice I was pumping pretty hard at the start of the fight, and we did nothing for a little bit, because unfortunately poison phase, or the swapped poison phase especially, you don't want to accidentally aggro the boss, though I always run with it when I'm DPSing. I always run to the other side, because if I do happen to pull and die, at least I pulled and died and didn't kill everybody else. You know what I'm saying? So we are looking at the second part here, the second water phase. We got to pump there. We go back to doing a little bit of nothing for a whole minute, and then we finish off in the water phase. So our first kill lasted over just under 5 minutes. It was just under 5 minutes. You'll notice at the start here, I could have started DPSing a little bit sooner, probably about 5 to 6 seconds sooner. So that would have been an efficiency that I could have cleaned up that could have given me a higher parse on this fight. About 6 seconds sooner, I probably could have started in on the boss. We were a little bit sketched on tank aggro. We had a couple pulls before that where the tank was not getting any, so I wanted to be extra safe. And I think it's always best to err on the side of caution. Yes, parses are fun. Yes, damage is fun. Being the most optimal is a great time. But also, like, you gotta be conscious of your tanks. So, and then the little bits of downtime, like I definitely could have done some melees in there on the poison phase. I think that would have been a little bit more damage. I could have started in on the second phase with damage a little bit faster as well. So my biggest thing here is I delayed about 6 seconds too long. And then I got bubbled on top of it. So that really cut out those, I would say it cut out a total of about 8 globals, because I didn't start soon enough and I got bubbled. So I lost probably about 8 globals there, which could have made the difference between a 94 parse and I would say a 96 to 98 parse. So it is what it is, right? Anyways, we're examining the timeline. There's some things in the logs. There's a lot of things you can do with Warcraft logs. If you have questions about that or want a guide on what to do in Warcraft logs, and specifically maybe you want me to do a series of talking about your character or something, just to try to coach things along, and I could do that. I could make YouTube content just helping people understand Warcraft logs and understand their class and character and how things break down. A lot of impacts on parses also have to do with the time it takes to kill the boss because of how bursting and all that stuff works. Elemental shamans are relatively unaffected by this because the only time, so with the exception of during Bloodlust, so Bloodlust pumps, right? We do a bunch of damage during Bloodlust, and then we fall out of Bloodlust, and if the boss isn't dead, those numbers go away slowly over time. So if you're killing bosses within the Bloodlust window, which is not really a thing in Classic Classic TBC as much as it was in Vanilla, I don't expect that to necessarily happen very often in TBC. A lot of these fights are longer. There's more phases. There's ads to kill. There's things to do. They're definitely more involved fights, and that'll happen more and more throughout the tiers, and then going into Wrath of the Lich King, it's even more so. But that's our log analysis for our shaman, and then we're going to do a log comparison. So we're going to compare ourselves to another top shaman. The biggest thing to note is that our kill time was 5 minutes, so that does have an impact. It's not as much of an impact for an elemental shaman DPS-wise, but time does factor into your parses. So we'll be looking here at, we'll pick a US one, which will be this person. And the reason why you want to do US ones is because oftentimes with the EU ones, they use special builds or things like speed runs and stuff like that. The US has a base of comparison for us, and also we can read them. Some of the other countries, they have like weird text and it's hard to read and it just confuses you. So this person had a lot more lightning bolts. They had about 8 more lightning bolts, I think, than I did, and about 3 more chain lightning. So that would go back into the I lost globals part of the beginning that we talked about. They did some frost shocking. I didn't frost shock. I would say we've flame shock and frost shock on the boss during poison phase as much as possible, but maintain the flame shock dot. They used magma totem and fire nova totem. They did not use the fire elemental. So perhaps their guild said no using fire elemental, or they had already had a wipe on their fire elemental and then down the boss. So they down the boss in just over 3 minutes. So that would be ideal because it's ending right at the water phase when we're at our highest damage. So they go through the first water phase and do all this big damage, and then the fire phase, they just pump out as much as they can as quickly as possible, and it's only a minute long. And then they go back into the water phase and on a peak, right? So they're able to do that. We didn't get to do that. So we're looking now at their timeline. They started at the 6-second marker, which we started at the 14, and then immediately got bubbled. So you saw that. They had a lot of lightning overload procs with chain lightning. I was shocked to see that because that is a lot of good RNG on your part. Like, good luck, or good on you. Like, you got lucky. They had a lot of lightning bolt procs. Like, their lightning overload was popping off for them. So that's good. That's good for them. That didn't happen for us as much at all. When we reviewed the timeline, you probably noticed it that we didn't really get a lot of lightning overload, and that does have an impact on our parse because it's a 50% hit of the original lightning bolt, right? So, and it can crit separately of the original lightning bolt. So it could vary how much damage it gives you, but it could be quite substantial how much damage it's giving you. And if it's proccing a lot, it's a lot of damage it's giving you, right? So their fire phase, they auto-attacked, they meleeed. We did not. I think that's probably where we could make up like a little bit more DPS. But comparing the end damage, they beat us by about 200. But again, all of those benefits I mentioned, plus they started sooner, plus they were meleeing, gives them a little bit of an edge. So next time going in, I'll continue to improve. This last time, so we went in this week, and this video should be coming out Saturday after we've completed our raids. what we did is we started meleeing. We used our fire elemental totem on the kill. I don't have those logs on this video to show you what we improved, but I did melee more. You can look me up. Torrential, it's got a special character. The alt code is 0233 if you care. You can look it up on Warcraft logs yourself and see what my logs look like if you want to do a log comparison. So on this poll, we were 8th on damage, which is actually pretty good considering we can't really DPS the poison phase. In their poll, they were 7th on damage. And that's actually really good as well. So they have an arcane mage that's really pumping. That's all I wanted to do for Hydross the Unstable. I wanted to give you kind of an examination of what I do, as well as like a fun video to watch in the beginning. I'm going to do this for every single boss and talk about what I'm looking for, what I'm doing, the thoughts I have going through my head during the fight. It's not really a boss guide. I expect that you probably know what's going on for the boss. If you have questions about the boss and don't quite understand some of the mechanics in the fight, or don't understand positioning in the fight, or why we do our strats the way we do them, you can go ahead and leave a comment down below. I will gladly answer your questions. Other than that, I wanted to thank you guys for watching my first video of this series. It's going to be an obviously 10-part series regarding all of the bosses and the elemental shaman POV and thoughts behind our prog and thoughts behind my DPS and how I'm doing what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So if you have any further questions, feel free to comment below. If you have questions that you want answered instantly, you can stop over at twitch.tv/Godoflulz. I raid Wednesday and Thursday, 8 to 11 EST, on my Elemental Shaman, and we're doing Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep at the moment. We have not downed Alar, and we have not downed Lady Vash, but we have downed every other boss so far. We only raid 6 hours a week, so that's kind of been playing against us and some inefficiencies and things, but we're getting there. We're going to be downing, hopefully, Lady Vash or Kael'thas this next week. Either or. But we'll get some looks at them for sure. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet to keep up with all of my posts, including this 10-part series, I do other class guides as well. I don't play them as much, but I do the class guides. I do a lot of research behind the scenes and log examination and stuff like that to understand the deepest, darkest depths of your class. And I did a quick guide series on every class, DPS class specialization in the game in TBC. That was a big new thing that I'd never done or not even thought about doing for a very long time. Big undertaking. It took about 3 months to make all this guide. It was a big process, and I got a lot of positive feedback. I got some negative feedback as well, but I'm a learner. I'll get there. But yeah, so anyways, thank you. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you haven't liked the video, please like the video. Help me get this stuff out to our shaman brethren. And otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and farewell.